My girlfriend said, "My ex wants me to go to a VIP party with him. You're not invited." I said, "Understood." I got the ring deposit back while she was gone. When she came home, I was packed. "How was the party?" "Good," she replied. Then she said, "Wait, why is your suitcase packed?" And I replied, "Because we're done." My name's Dustin. I'm 29 years old, and I spent the morning watching the woman I love turn into a stranger. Lauren Bennett, my girlfriend of 3 years, stood in front of the mirror smoothing down the front of her black silk dress. She turned her head slightly to check her earring, adjusted the clasp with 2 fingers, and said, "Tyler Rhodes is hosting the VIP after-party at the gallery, just a few close people." I didn't respond right away. I was pulling on my jacket, thinking about the call I'd made that morning to confirm the deposit on the engagement ring, $5,200. I'd saved every penny for 7 months, working overtime in my workshop and skipping drinks with friends. I looked at her, waiting for her to say she wanted me there with her. Instead, she met my eyes in the mirror and said, "It's small, Dustin, intimate, for investors only, so you're not invited." Her voice was so flat, like she was reading a grocery list. I froze. The velvet box hidden in the top drawer of my dresser suddenly felt like a joke. I realized in that second that the future I'd been building in my head, dinner plans, wedding talks, weekends in the countryside, wasn't real to her. It was just part of the backdrop, like one of the framed prints she rotated monthly on the loft wall. She wasn't nervous, she wasn't sorry, she just looked satisfied, like she'd finally stepped into a life where I didn't belong. I asked her if she understood what she was saying. I kept my voice low, calm. She rolled her eyes and twisted the cap back on her lipstick. "It's my career, Dustin. Don't be small-minded," she snapped. "This is Tyler's chance to help me get the promotion. You know how much this means. I didn't, not anymore." The last 2 years flashed in my head, me making her coffee every morning, fixing her laptop when it crashed, building her that walnut drinks bar she bragged about to every guest who came by. And now I wasn't even allowed to stand in the same room as my own work. I watched her grab her purse, check her phone, then walk out the door without another word. The click of it shutting behind her sounded like a lock turning. The silence in the loft was thick. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the distant rattle of a train on the old tracks nearby. I stood there, hand still on my jacket, heart slamming against my ribs, and knew I couldn't stay. Not after this. I couldn't sit on the couch pretending to enjoy a TV show while she came home hours later, smelling like the life she'd rather be living. Either I let her keep treating me like background noise, or I walked before I lost myself completely. I walked to the dresser, pulled out the velvet box, looked at it for a long moment, then put it back. I picked up my phone. I couldn't call her. Not now. Not ever again, the way things stood. I dialed the jeweler's number, fingers steady. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Dustin, great to hear from you. Ready to move forward with the setting?" I swallowed. "No, I need to cancel. For good." There was a pause. I heard typing on the other end. "Okay, let me check. No work's been started on the custom setting, and you're still within the shop's cancellation window. That means we can reverse the transaction, and the full $5,200 will be refunded to your account." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Thank you," I said, my voice quiet. "I appreciate that." When he said transaction reversed, it didn't feel like relief. It felt colder than that, like a stone had settled in my chest. $5,200. The number echoed in my head. I earned that through hard work in my St. John's workshop, hands raw from sanding, back aching from lifting slabs of walnut and oak. I saved it for a woman who spent more time picking out the right wine for a gallery event than she did planning a future with me. I looked around the loft. It was nice, sure exposed beams, shiny floors, all curated to look like urban charm. But the soul of this place wasn't in the art on the walls. It was in the furniture I'd built. The dining table, the headboard, the kitchen island. I wasn't just her partner. I was her handyman, her emotional support, the quiet foundation that let her play the role of the rising star. And in one sentence, she'd made it clear I wasn't even allowed on stage. I didn't feel sad anymore. I felt clear, sharp, like I'd been sleepwalking and someone had finally slapped me awake. I opened the closet, pulled out my suitcases, and started filling them. I didn't touch her things. Not the stack of art books neatly arranged by color, not the candles she bought to set the mood, not even the coffee mug I'd gifted her last Christmas. I wasn't mad. I was precise. I only took what was mine: clothes, tools, sketchbooks, the handmade leather wallet my dad gave me before I moved to Portland. Everything else had a shadow of her on it. The loft was hers. She'd signed the lease alone when she first got the job, but I'd poured myself into making it livable, warm, real. I folded each shirt slowly, like I was packing up more than just clothes. I was folding up a version of myself I didn't want to be anymore. The Walnut Drinks bar came to mind, 6 feet long, custom leg supports, hours of hand sanding. I'd finished it just a week ago, proud of how the grain caught the light. She'd kissed me that night and said, "You're my secret weapon, Dustin." Now, I wasn't even a guest at the party where it would be used. I picked up my phone and called my sister, hoping for some comfort. "You gotta talk to her, Dustin," she said after I explained. "Don't be dramatic. Maybe she didn't mean it the way it sounded." I hung up. Of course she didn't get it. I almost left a note, something polite like, "I needed space." But then I realized she'd just read it as weakness. As me folding again. The sun was starting to dip outside. The sky turned orange behind the skyline. I looked at the 6 boxes I'd packed, everything I had left of my life. I zipped the last suitcase, sat on the edge of the bed, and asked myself, now what? I called Grant Walker, my best friend since we were apprentices in a woodworking program. I told him I was standing on the sidewalk outside the loft, bags at my feet. "Don't move," he said. "Room over the garage is empty, keys under the planter." That was it, no questions. No what happened, just space and silence, which was exactly what I needed. I drove across town, the van bumping over potholes, the sound of my tools rattling in the back. The house was in St. John's, older but well kept. Grant met me at the bottom of the stairs with 2 beers, handed me one, and helped me carry the boxes up. He didn't say anything. Didn't have to. Later, I looked at my phone and saw the bank notification, refund processed, $5,200 returned. That wasn't an engagement fund anymore. That was my freedom, my way out. I sat on the edge of the narrow bed in the garage apartment staring at the bare walls and made a vow I'd never again be the quiet guy in the background, holding up someone else's spotlight. I'd spent years being invisible so she could shine. Not anymore. Back in my portfolio, tucked between sketches of table legs and drawer pulls, I found the loan receipt. The 1-page slip Mia Park, the gallery floor manager, had signed a week ago when we delivered the bar and stools. It said in plain English, "Dustin Campbell retains title to all woodwork until full payment is received from the gallery after the event. No payment has been made as of this date. No fancy legal traps." Just facts. I pulled up the gallery's budget email chain I'd been copied on, still awaiting final investor approval, which meant Tyler hadn't signed off on the funds yet. They were using my work for free to impress a man who dumped Lauren because she wasn't polished enough. I'd heard that story from her, drunk one night, crying about how she'd wasted a year on him. Now she was letting him pull the strings again. My phone buzzed. Text from Mia Park. "Hey Dustin, just confirming load-in maintenance for tonight. Any touch-ups needed on the bar before doors open?" I stared at the message. This wasn't just about the ring. It wasn't just about being uninvited. This was about her using my craft, the thing I'd built with my own hands, to climb back into the circle of someone who never respected her. And she didn't care that I wasn't part of the picture. I typed back, "Actually, I'll be there early. Need to discuss something with you in person." I didn't tell her what, but I knew, right then, I wasn't just leaving. I was taking back everything she thought she could keep. I told Grant the plan. He didn't hesitate. "You bringing the dolly?" he asked, already walking to the truck. We drove to the gallery 3 hours before the VIP doors were set to open. The street was already alive. Catering vans pulling up, servers in black vests unloading trays, a wine rep checking bottles under a spotlight. Mia Park saw me and rushed over, panicked but polite. "Dustin, we were hoping you'd come early. The investor's already asking about the craftsmanship." I handed her the signed loan slip. "I need to take back my work," I said. "The gallery hasn't paid, and I'm within my rights to reclaim it." Her smile dropped. "Wait, what? Right now?" She looked at the bar, at the empty stools, at the clock. "Lauren said everything was approved. I didn't raise my voice. Lauren doesn't control the payment. The contract does. And until it clears, this is mine. She pulled out her phone, tried calling Lauren. No answer. Probably in the salon, getting her hair done, thinking about how charming Tyler would be tonight. Grant and I didn't wait. We folded the legs of the stools, slid them onto the dolly, rolled them out the front door, past the wine reps who stopped mid-sentence to watch. We loaded the walnut bar last, careful, slow, like we were removing a body from a crime scene. It looked better under the afternoon sun than it ever had inside that cool, artificial gallery light. I told Mia, "You can call me when the check clears. Until then, it's not staying." She just stood there, clipboard in hand, mouth open, as we drove away. My phone didn't ring. But within minutes, my screen lit up. Notifications exploded, tags, comments, messages. An intern from the gallery had posted a photo on social media, the corner where the bar should have been, empty except for a power cord curling up from the floor. Caption, "Crisis in the Pearl. Where's the bar?" People were speculating. Did Dustin steal it back? Was it a feud? This is so chaotic. I sat on Grant's porch sipping a beer, watching the chaos unfold online. It wasn't me causing drama. I just followed the rules. But to them, it looked like a scandal. Then a message came through from Lauren on a mutual friend's account. "You're a bitter, pathetic loser. How could you do this to my career?" I didn't reply. She was still calling it sabotage, not seeing it as consequence. Not once did she say, "I'm sorry I told you you weren't welcome." She didn't get it. I wasn't trying to break her. I was just refusing to be erased. Her texts would come later, first angry, then tearful, then blaming Tyler for pressuring her. But I already knew the truth. She made the call. She told me I wasn't invited, and in that moment, I became invisible. But now, for the first time, I was the one who wasn't there, and everyone could see it. Nico Reed, my old friend from the woodworking cooperative, called me laughing. "Dude, I just walked by the gallery. They're using folding tables, like the kind from a church basement." I could picture it. Men and women in expensive suits, sipping $300 bottles of wine, balancing glasses on flimsy plastic trays. Tyler Rhodes was reportedly furious. "The vibe is dead," someone overheard him say. "How did they not secure proper furniture for an investor event?" The irony hit hard. I'd built that bar to last 50 years. They were serving prestige on something that couldn't survive a church potluck. I felt a cold wave of satisfaction, not because I wanted them to fail, but because I saw the truth exposed. Their whole world was flimsy. All surface. No foundation. No integrity. And I was the one thing they couldn't fake. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Lauren, this time through email. "You're going to hear from our lawyer." I opened the loan slip again, scanned the signature, the date, the terms. I'd followed every rule, every word. I hadn't signed anything that gave them ownership. I hadn't promised it as a gift. I'd loaned it, and now I'd reclaimed it, right on time. If they wanted to sue, they'd lose, because the truth was on paper. And the truth was, she'd told me I wasn't invited. Nico showed up at dawn the next day, grinning. Let's give them a show they can't ignore. We loaded the walnut bar onto his friend's sidewalk cart and rolled it 2 blocks down to the neighborhood art walk. He set up a card table. I brought my hand plane and a fresh slab of maple. I started working, the blade curling thin ribbons of wood, the sound sharp and honest. People stopped. Then more came. A little crowd built around us. A woman asked, "Is that bar for sale?" I said, "It's recently available." Long story. Someone snapped a photo, then another. I didn't talk about Lauren, didn't mention the gallery, I just worked. Showed people how a joint was cut, how grain mattered, how a piece could last generations if you cared enough. Across the street I saw the gallery lights on, the few guests wandering around, but it felt hollow. Inside, Lauren was probably trying to explain why a major investor was leaving early. Outside, I was talking to people who actually appreciated what I did. One woman stepped out of the crowd, stayed longer than the others. "Rita Collins," she said, "owner of a high-end restaurant in Southeast. I was supposed to be at that event," she said, "but it felt like a funeral in there, no soul." She watched my hands move over the wood. "I need someone like you. Someone who values craft over clout." In that moment, I realized something. The circle Lauren wanted wasn't powerful, it was empty, and I was already building something real. After the crowd left and the tools were packed, I sat in the dark of Grant's garage apartment, legs stretched out, phone in hand. The adrenaline had worn off. All that was left was a deep, quiet ache. I looked at the bank app. $5,200 back in my account. I should have felt victorious, but I didn't. I felt tired, hollow. I thought about the 2 years we'd shared, the dinners, the lazy Sunday mornings, the way she used to rest her head on my shoulder when we watched movies. Now, every memory felt like a lie. Had she ever really seen me? Or was I just the guy who made things nice for her? I looked at the photo I'd taken of the bar on the sidewalk, people gathered around it like it was something sacred. I started to wonder, should I have just let her have it? Should I have stayed quiet, handed her the ring, played the part of the supportive partner while she climbed? But then I remembered the look on her face when she told me I wasn't invited. Cool. Detached. Like I was nothing more than a piece of furniture she could store or discard. I couldn't go back, not even to fix things, because the woman I thought I loved wasn't real. Texts came in from Lauren piling up. First rage. How could you humiliate me like that? Then sadness. I thought you loved me. Then bargaining. Just bring back the bar, Dustin, please, for the cleanup. No one has to know. She tried to blame Tyler. Said he'd promised her the promotion if she played along. But I knew that wasn't true. She'd made that choice. And she'd looked me in the eye and told me I didn't matter. If I gave in now, I'd be proving her right. That I was just a tool. Something she could use when things got hard, then put away when they didn't suit her image. The silence in the garage pressed in. I felt alone. But I also felt strong. I opened my messages, found the photo of the bar at the art walk, the crowd around it, and remembered the respect in Rita's eyes. That was real. That mattered. I couldn't go back, not even to say goodbye. The person I'd loved hadn't existed. And the man I was becoming, he wouldn't survive in her world. 2 weeks later, I was at a riverfront pub, sipping a local IPA, sketching a new design for a dining set. The door opened, and there she was, Lauren Bennett. Hair messy, makeup smudged, no trace of the curated look from the gallery night. She walked straight to me, didn't ask if I had a minute, just stood there. My promotion's on hold, she said. Because of the fiasco. I looked up, didn't stand. I'm sorry to hear that. She blinked. How can you be so cold, after everything? I set my pencil down. You told me I wasn't invited to the event where I'd built the main piece of furniture. I took it back. That's all. She leaned in. You didn't have to make it public. You didn't have to humiliate me. And you didn't have to shut me out, I said. But you did. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I could see the realization. No amount of charm, no tears, no blame shifting would pull me back. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was just done. I reached for my wallet, left enough cash for my drink, stood up, and walked out. Didn't look back. Not once. My new workshop is smaller, but it's mine. The projects are real. No more pretending. I see Lauren's name sometimes on gallery flyers or event ads, but it's like reading about someone from a book I closed years ago. The Walnut Bar? It's in the entryway of Rita Collins' restaurant, where guests sit at it every night, run their hands over the grain, tell stories across it. I learned you can't build a life on someone else's ego. You build it on truth, on wood, on work that lasts. I'm 29, I've got my tools, my hands, and a future that's finally mine. For the first time in years, my life feels solid, like it's made of real wood. If you've ever been treated like an option instead of a priority, tell me your story in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of standing your ground, and check out the next video on your screen right now.